All right. I've got a backlog of questions I procrastinated on, especially around the financials of the company, both before and after the recent release, which I'm going to be taking up in a later video. Be patient on that one, please. But first, there's replication of my work, which I want to address because some of you real keen ones have pointed out you can match my numbers on the preferred shares to the confirmation statements, and that's the ones here in this shareholding M-Kopa. But you cannot match the ordinaries. Let me just show you the problem that a couple people have pointed out to me, which I appreciate. So first, I'm going to go through fast because you can slow this down. Google Companies House UK. Click information about a company. Start now. The top company is called M-Kopa Holdings. If we just search M-Kopa, we'll see that choice. M-Kopa Holdings, filing history. Confirmation statements. So this is the one, and I'm just going to pick the most recent one from 2025. And as you look through here, you'll see two listings for ordinary shares, 253,892. And then later, if I scroll way down to the end, since they've done this alphabetically rather than in a sensible way, 818,305 of the voting ordinary, so 253,000 non-voting, 818,000 voting ordinary. When you add those together, they add up to 1,072,000. That's about 200,000 shares short of my number on the spreadsheet, which is 1,278,000. You see that difference where if you look at the other bits of these, you should be able to, this like Series E preferred, etc., or Series C preferred, for example, that number should match to my figure on here exactly. Okay, so the 200,000 shares that are missing from this is because they're still in the option plan. They've not yet been exercised. They're still allowed to be exercised, but they've not yet been exercised. And so the 1,072,000 here is fully paid up shares, but there's another 200,000 kind of waiting. They have just as much of an equity claim as the ones that own them outright, but they haven't paid for them yet, which is their option. That's part of the gift in the option plan, because you don't want to make your employees pay for shares, because that seems like a racket to kind of take money, though many employees have exercised. Interestingly, all the employees who've exercised are Kenyans and Ugandans. The white employees who've left and not exercised. So you can see who's kind of more committed to the success of the company by that stat. Okay, so where do we see the 200,000? So we can get close to it. I don't match M-Kopa's figures exactly, so let me show you where. Okay, first question I got was, what's the difference between the voting and the non-voting? Rather than me give my summary of it, I'll just take you directly to the source, which is the articles. Hold on. The articles, which are under the incorporation tab, Mem Arts. So this is the 2023 Mem Arts, which are the most recent one they've published. These were not approved, by the way. That's like sort of a side drama. So if we go to section, let's see, section 6 is shares, page 24. Unger. Let's see, Unger. Where's it go? 24. This is what you're going to do for your evening. You're going to watch a man scroll through a PDF document? Jesus Christ. 6. Okay. Voting and non-voting. The voting ordinary and the non-voting ordinary shall be identical. Save that. Non-voting shall have no right to call or hold any meeting of the members, provide notice of such a meeting, form a quorum of such a meeting, take any action. So basically, if you're non-voting, you're disregarded. So this is very similar to the ones that have been classified as minor holders separately, which I'll take up in another video. But basically, it means like you're not allowed to call meetings if you have non-voting ordinary. So where do we see around the 200,000 missing ones? We go back to Companies House. Let me untick that and tick accounts. And finance accounts. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 2022 accounts, or maybe 2021. I should see a similar thing. I'm just going to pick. I'll pick one of these because that's. Remember, the figures I'm giving you here are as of 2022, right after the really offensive resolutions that were passed without the ordinary shareholders' approval, where other share classes approved those on your behalf. So let me go to that one, and then I'll show you what's on the 2025 as well. So, okay. here I think, let's see, it was a note. Just a second. It's the equity section. Hold on, I gotta see the notes. It's in the notes. Here's this changes in equity. Okay, so 7A and B and C are the equity. Okay, so let's go to 7. Let's go to 7A and B. In the notes. Sorry, I know I'm going fast, and if you're not used to reading financial statements, this probably makes no sense, but if you want to learn, you can slow it down and feel free to ask me more questions. Okay, let me just see where 7 is. Okay, we're still in the accounting policies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Here we go. Okay, equity. Right. Okay, so first we see the ordinary shares, 2021, 2022. We're pretty close. I don't match them to the penny, but there's much bigger problems with this cap table right now than these kind of 2,000 share difference. Remember, I'm at here I'm on 1,072,000. M-Kopa says 1,070,000, 171. Fine. But here they disclose the options. List the numbers, deferred shares, preferred shares. Here we go. So they basically point out that they're allowed issue about 500,000 under the approved thing, but they've issued, yeah, here we go, 194. This is outstanding as of 1st January 2021. So this is basically the options that you add on to this. So if I take their number 194,623, let's just add that. 194,623. 126. Okay, so I say 1278, whatever they're at 1266. In the scheme of things, this is a small problem, especially since they've lost records on around 50,000 additional shares held by Kenyans and Ugandans in the option plan. That they just deleted those records in the early days, and I have been working with them to try to resolve with varying level of success. Okay. Where was it going? So there's where you can see the 200,000. Forgive me for not matching exactly. I'm using 1278. That's from my records because I've got a different set of records, but it's close enough. I think for the purposes you see there, it matches. I said I would go to 2024 because here, strangely, so they've reordered. They've, just like in a lot of things, they've sort of reformatted the way they do it, and they've stopped disclosing certain things. So if I see the, just a second, sorry, I'm gonna have to go through this quick. Maybe I should, okay, where's the change in equity? I gotta see the notes. Notes on page 2198, okay. Let's go to note 21, and that should get my change of equity. So in the previous note, it was in the 7s. It's in this year, it's in the 2020, 21, sorry, it's in the note 21, I believe. Nope, right of use assets. Intangible assets, let's find it. Share capital, okay. Okay, so here's the section from the 2024. So they disclose those shares strangely. Okay, now I match exactly, 1072197, fantastic. But the references to the option plan have been removed. They talk about the gross shares and whatever. So as far as why, I don't know. Audited accounts are supposed to give you the fully diluted shares outstanding. This might just be an oversight by the auditors. Or if you wanted me to speculate, it's basically to make it harder for you to analyze, which you're having a hard enough time doing because it's very complex. It's missing now, but the good news is I've got those records and I know where to find all this stuff. So anyway, hope that helps on that. I promise I'll get to the other questions later. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Enjoy. I love M-Kopa.